Tramps and thieves. AOA podcast. What's going on this Monday episode? I hope you had a lovely weekend. Mine was fantastic, filled with lots of holiday cheer with the family. We've got a whole new slate of topics to get into, including Nick Fuentes on Piers Morgan getting absolutely torn apart. I mean, ripped to shreds. And I could play you. I've watched just about 3 or 4 different topics that they covered in this. There's one in particular I'm going to share with you, and it's going to be quite embarrassing for Nick Fuentes. So stick around for that. Jimmy Kimmel's contract is up. What does ABC do? We now know, and I will share that with you. Speaking of big TV news, Netflix set to acquire Warner Brothers in an $82.7 billion deal. Well, as it turns out, Paramount's coming back with an even stronger bid. Hostile takeover, some of the words being thrown around. We'll share that with you. Have all the latest there. Marjorie Taylor Greene on 60 Minutes, and Long Island has a OF problem. You know what I'm talking about when I say OF, right? I think most people do. For some reason, you can't say that company anymore without getting shadow banned. Lord knows we have enough problems on this podcast. And make sure I'm perfectly in focus so you can see exactly how ugly I am. So let's say hello to the live chat. Love seeing everybody in here, throwing around some happy hellos to everybody. Love to see the friendliness in the live chat. Don't forget, we're live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday between 8:30 and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can get all our details at anthonyonair.com. Make sure you spread the word. Become a member for as little as $2.99 a month. You can help finance the podcast here, keep the content going if you like it. And of course, as always, help out with the algorithm. Throw a like, a thumbs up, hit a share, put it on Twitter, put it on your Instagram stories. Help us out there. We're always fighting the uphill battle of, having to deal with the algorithm gods. Okay. Nick Fuentes on Piers Morgan. Unbelievable. So I don't want to say I'm becoming obsessed with Nick Fuentes, but his blatantness and ire is becoming more and more apparent. I really see Nick Fuentes making a full court press on trying to fill the role of Charlie Kirk as that big conservative voice, as they all jockey for a position between Tucker and Candace and all these right-wing, media types and new media types, which I'm a new media guy. I appreciate that. But we're seeing a lot of problems with Nick Fuentes and learning about him and learning new things. And I watched a few moments of this. I'm going to play you a key moment in a second, but I watched a few moments of the Nick Fuentes interview on Piers Morgan, and I think Piers handled the hell out of him. I watched as Piers Morgan tried to establish his racist base or foundation or whatever you want to say. He fought Piers Morgan on that. He got offended that Piers pointed out that his father was a racist based off of comments that he himself had said on his show. Yet later on in the interview, just moments later, he basically proclaims that everybody's a racist. And then Piers Morgan played a clip of him where he's outwardly being racist, talking about most black people need to be behind prisons, Jewish people run the world, all that same old stereotypical stuff that's out there. And he owned that completely. And then tried to spin it as like, oh, well, Piers, you're doing gotcha journalism and all this and that kind of stuff. Which, believe me, the mainstream media is certainly guilty of, and Piers himself has definitely done. But I don't know if it's gotcha journalism if you're just holding up a mirror to a person and saying, hey, this is what you said. Tell me why this is not racist. And then their answers are contradicting one another and don't make any sense. That's not really gotcha journalism. It's more like, here's a platform, explain yourself because I think you're this. And if you're not, you can tell me why you're not. And then his answers don't make sense. And like I said, contradict each other. So the whole thing is really very strange and bizarre. But I want to take you to one exchange in particular where Piers Morgan just flat out challenges Nick Fuentes on his sexuality. Not that it matters, but when you talk openly about homosexuality being such a bad thing, the way Nick Fuentes does, it's not bad to ask that question, to wonder if this is a self-hating situation or a fake situation. But Nick Fuentes, I don't even know how old he is. He looks like he's 24. I mean, he looks very, very young. And I can't help but watch this clip, and it's a minute 3 from Piers Morgan. We thank him for the clip. Pop it up on the screen here so you guys can see what we're talking about. I just think he schools him, and after this little exchange, I don't see how anybody takes Nick Fuentes seriously. That's assuming that you're taking Nick Fuentes seriously from the beginning, which I have a hard time believing, because anybody this simple-minded and stupid, you should really be careful about what you're like listening to and what you're throwing yourself into. And listen, I know why Nick Fuentes is popular. He says things that resonate with people, right? Everybody is struggling right now. Affordability is a tough thing. There's racial tensions. There's, like, it's a dog-eat-dog world. It's a tough time in the world. When is it never? And then you have somebody who comes in and he says to you, well, if you have problems, you can blame black people. Like that's the answer to your solution. And then people who are struggling and frustrated and angry go, maybe it is black people. And then he comes out and says, well, it's not black people, because he basically, and I'm paraphrasing here for Nick Fuentes, but he's like, oh, black people are just killing everybody, It's like, oh, okay, well, if I'm not getting killed, then you can go, well, if you're not worried about if you or your family weren't killed by somebody, and you're just worried about, like, why are you so poor? Why are you struggling? That's Jewish people's fault. And then he finds insecure, confused, struggling people, and he gives you a little gift of, here's who you can blame for your problems. And then he just goes down the list of different races, religions, genders at some point, and he gives you, boom, there you go. There's a reason why. Here's a reason why. And it's interesting too, because you look at some of the big influencers, out there, people who are intelligent, people who know how to carry on conversations, people who put decent points together. I look at somebody like a Scott Galloway, and Scott Galloway, NYU professor, author, business owner, entrepreneur, very intelligent guy, podcaster in his own right. I don't get to listen to Scott's podcast that often, but I'm aware of his podcast and how popular it is. I don't agree with everything that Scott Galloway says, but I think he points out an interesting problem, which is also something that Nick Fuentes is speaking to, which is we have an issue in this country of young men. Young men have an issue in this country. And the fact that we have these economic struggles right now, the fact that the dollar is not worth what it used to be, the fact that somebody making $100,000 in 1980 was making way more money than somebody who's making $100,000 now. And it's not even like, well, obviously, inflation and this and that. It's not even that. I mean, nothing is keeping pace with where it should be. I mean, $100,000 now is, half what it was worth back then, so just when people think that they're doing better and then they're still not, and you have rising healthcare costs, you have rising food costs, all these struggles and issues, it's easy to just say, oh, these must be the people to blame. But Scott Galloway points out that these economic challenges are a challenge for young males because they're having a hard time, making their way in the world. Right now, it takes you till, I think I've seen some ages, like it takes you till you're the age of 32 to reach the economic prowess that somebody 10 years ago was reaching at 27. And 10 years before that was reaching at 24. You just can't get up there and make that much money. And what Scott Galloway says is, and this is, we're talking about, obviously there's straight, there's gay, there's all that stuff. But when you're talking about relationships, women, for the most part, they're searching for somebody who, can be there to protect them, to provide for them, that there still are those traditional issues in there. And what's happening is, and not blanket, not across the board, but for the most part, what's happening is these young men are failing at reaching these objectives. They can't make as much money as they want to be making or should be making, so they feel like women are writing them off. They can't move out of mom's house. They can't go get their own house. They can't provide and show that they have the wherewithal, economic abilities, social abilities to go out there and provide and protect and be a partner and be somebody that you could build a life with, right? They're having trouble with that. So what happens? They pull back. They start to get suicidal. They start to get angry. They start to feel like, well, I'm not going to go out and try and meet somebody who's going to want to date me. I will just stay inside, play my video games, and do all this and that. So you listen to Scott Galloway talk about this, and it's like, obviously we have an issue with young men in America right now. It's not entirely their fault. Some of it is, some of it isn't. Some of it's just the economic situations of what's happening in our society. It's harder to make a living. It's harder to make a living earlier in life, for a lot of different reasons. And so Scott Galloway approaches this like, hey, there's some issues out there. We need to fix these things. We need to make it work for, young men so they can find the young women so that we can continue to have a society. And of course, that obviously works for young men looking to find young men and young women looking to find young women. It all applies across the board. But Scott Galloway is basically pointing out and saying these economic issues are leading to societal issues for us. Nick Fuentes is looking at the same issues that Scott Galloway is looking at, and he's saying, but it's Jewish people's fault, and it's Black people's fault, and it's gay people's fault, and it's women's fault. Like, you can't fault a woman for wanting to find a partner that has a certain amount of expectations, that can fulfill a certain amount of expectations that she has. And the reason why we know this is true is because you can't fault a man for wanting to find a partner that find a woman who can reach certain expectations for what he has. And what that is going to be different in every single relationship. Some traditional values, some not traditional values, right? Everybody is looking for somebody else that they could build a partnership with. I mean, unfortunately, like the way our society is structured right now is you need two working incomes for the most part in any relationship. Like, both parties need to be bringing in a decent amount of money for anybody to try and move up socially and economically, to try and get ahead, to try and save for the future. I mean, that's just the current facts of where we are in the world. And you look back at society in the 50s and the 60s, and it was one income, traditionally male back then at the time. It was one income that provided all of those things. And now we're in a two-income relationship sort of a society. So it's okay to acknowledge that we have a problem, but where Nick Fuentes is going wrong is he's saying, yes, struggling young men, there is an issue, and here's where the problem is, And so I can point to a lot of different things, but it's this exchange in particular that I really, really found interesting, because if we're going to take Nick Fuentes at his word that he's being honest and truthful here, well, take a listen for yourself. Can you literally take Nick Fuentes seriously? And I'm not talking, by the way, I'm not talking to 98% of the people. I'm talking to the 2% of the population that I feel thinks that Nick Fuentes is speaking to truth. I'm talking to the people that believe in Nick Fuentes. If you think Nick Fuentes is a crazy racist asshole, congratulations, you got your head on straight. If you think Nick Fuentes is making some really great points, I want you to listen to this exchange, and I want you to tell me how you can continue to support somebody like this.
Just to clear up one of the many theories about you, I've no idea what the answer is, and you haven't got to answer. But are you actually attracted to women?
I am attracted to women.
You're not gay?
No. But I will say that women are very difficult to be around.
Okay.
So there's that.
And do you think they should have the right to vote?
I do not. No, absolutely not.
I wonder why women are so difficult to be around. Women shouldn't have the right to vote. Well, I think you're wrong. Well, you're difficult to be around. Is that why? Is that the reason why? Boy, if I just shit on somebody's basic, human rights in America and they took issue with that, is it appropriate response to just be like, hey, they're pretty difficult? This isn't even the worst. This isn't even the part that I'm trying to get to. We're just scraping this. By the way, look at Nick Fuentes. Look at this adorable little youngster's face. Look at this idiot. Look at this guy's face with his stupid floppy hair in the front of his face. That's one. This is a style of the young gentleman of today. I see a lot of kids in my son's school, my daughter's school, with this little floppy hairdo. I don't know if it's just because I can't stand hair on my forehead, but this drives me nuts. This really drives me nuts. I never thought I would turn into an old man as fast as I did, but it's happening at a daily basis. But I'm playing you this whole minute clip because Piers Morgan, I mean, the guy, he's not bad. He's good. He's not, he's good at doing this. Like, listen to the track of his questions and where that goes from here.
They should stay at home.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So basically, you're just a misogynist old dinosaur, aren't you? For a young guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm the boomer. I know I'm the boomer here, but actually, you're a 27-year-old dinosaur, aren't you? Aren't you, Nick Fuentes? All women.
I am.
All women are annoying. All women grow old. They all get fat. Says the guy. Have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Says the guy who's never got laid.
Okay. So Piers Morgan being a little crude there towards the end. But I bring it up, and you can definitely have your judgment on me on how I feel here. But if you're following somebody who has never shared a night of lovemaking with another human being, what are you doing? You're talking about somebody who hasn't lived yet. I mean, there are 20-year-old and 30-year-old and 40-year-old men in this country that are looking at Nick Fuentes like, that guy knows what he's talking about. That guy's got his finger on the pulse. He speaks my language. Yeah, I don't like black people. Yeah, Jewish people are controlling it. Yeah, women are a problem. He's saying all these things to this group of men that are just eating up whatever he says. And now we go to find out the guy has never even gotten laid. I know it's a crude way to say it. I know it sounds a little harsh to say. But again, it represents a bigger thing of you're talking about one of life's great events, accomplishments, experiences. We're talking about somebody who has never experienced one of life's basic experiences. And you're going to put your trust into this person who has never lived, who has never convinced another human being to share a bed with him. I know it sounds crude. Thank you, Christella, for saying that it's not harsh. Because if we were judging anybody else on whether or not they get laid or not, it would feel a little harsh. But in this particular case, how could you talk about women? You've never even experienced a woman. And I'm not just talking about the physical part about that. I'm talking about laying in a bed with a woman after that physicality is over and talking to them, experiencing them. Finding out, because in those moments, that's when you find out what somebody's greatest fears are, what their greatest strengths are, what they're all about. If he's never gotten laid, he's never spent all night staying up without having sex, talking to a female, getting to know who she really is, understanding what that's like. If you've never had sex, have you gone on a long weekend trip to Vegas or Atlantic City or somewhere like that with your boys, with your guy friends? Have you had great meals? Have you gambled? Have you gone hiking, rock climbing, jet skiing? Have you done any of that stuff? Paul says, Ann, have you met any straight men? Why am I describing? I mean, listen, just because I like, I like romantic comedies. Okay. I like going to museums and shit like that. If you would think I was gay if you were going to judge me from the outside looking in. So I might not have my finger on the pulse of what a strong heterosexual male is into. I'll give you that, Paul. I will give you that. But my point is, okay, sex is sex. But what I'm saying is, in this instance, sex represents something much bigger. It represents life experience. Because if you aren't brave enough to experience that, then you're not brave enough to go climb up a mountain. You're not brave enough to go scuba diving. You're not brave enough to, like I said, go on a bender with the boys over a weekend. Those things happen. That's what life is worth. That's you have to live life to be able to grab a microphone and talk to people about it. You can't just be an angry, never gotten laid, never experienced things with a woman, probably never had a long conversation with somebody who doesn't have the same skin color as you. You probably never sat and spoke to a gay person or a transgender person and listened to their perspective and wonder what the world looks like through their eyes and heard their struggles. You know what I mean? How can you sit here and pontificate to people on how the world should be? You're a fucking child. You've never experienced the world. How should anybody be able to sit here and take you seriously? I noticed we had a lot of Nick supporters in the live chat moments ago, and now suddenly they're not here anymore. I wonder why that is. I wonder why none of those types of people can stand around and defend somebody like this and put up an argument for why this is legitimate or acceptable. You know, you've never gotten, I mean, it's the first basic step in society to becoming a real human being. Most people do that with a significant other before they ever wind up getting a job. I don't even know if this guy has ever had a job. I don't even know. Again, if you've never, just to prove that it's not about sex, if you've never gotten laid, what else have you not done? It sounds like you've not gone out and experienced the world whatsoever. Like I said, I mean, I a drunken weekend with the guys. You learn a lot of shit. You grow up a lot in those times, man. You do. Jumping off of, cliffs into water, hiking, going, mountains, ranges, things that you've never that you got to live. You have to live before you can sit there and tell other people how to live. How can we trust your thoughts and opinions on women, gay people, and black people if you have never experienced another person yourself? The fuck are we doing anymore? I hate to say this, man, but at some point, being a podcast host needs to come with a license. You know what I'm saying? Like years ago, to get on the radio, you used to have a broadcast license. They got rid of that, and that was a mistake. I mean, if we sat around and listened to a 12-year-old pontificate about the troubles of society and took them seriously, wouldn't that look ridiculous? Well, there's no difference between a 12-year-old and Nick Fuentes. They have the same life experiences. What have you experienced, Nick Fuentes? Chocolate milk and macaroni and cheese? Is that what we're talking about? Do you go out to a restaurant and ask if they have chicken fingers? You fucking 5-year-old? And we're supposed to take this person seriously? I mean, for the love of God, this guy is a fucking idiot. And I mean, we knew he was an idiot ahead of time, but this even more so. I cannot take you even remotely serious. If you have not convinced another person to go to bed with you, you have not lived. You have not lived. And I mean, there's tons of these things I could talk. If you haven't walked into a New York City restaurant knowing damn well you can't afford it and sat down and had a meal, you have not lived. You know, you have not lived. If you haven't gone into a job interview for a job that you're probably not qualified for, but you sat across the table from somebody, you looked them in the eyes and you convinced them to give you a chance, then you have not lived. There's a lot of things that you have to do in life. That's all part of it. You have to find love, lose love, get rejected, get dumped. You know what I'm saying? You got to do those things. It's important. It's important. I get on J-Sabs a lot for her desire to do stand-up. She said to me a couple of years ago, I want to do stand-up. I said, I'm going to make sure that you do it. And I've slacked on her, but I've let it slide. When I was younger, when I was at CBS FM, a friend of mine was his wife had bought him stand-up comedy classes, which I thought was hilarious. It was very endearing and it was a very wonderful gift. And at the end of the stand-up comedy class, his final was going up on stage. And he's telling me this. And he says, you know, you could come too. It's literally an open mic night. And I said, I'll be there with you. I'll be there to support you. And I did it for two reasons. I did it because I wanted to support the guy. Well, three reasons. I did it because I wanted to support the guy. And I did it because I wanted to try it. I didn't think I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. And I was right. When I got done with it, I was like, this is not for me. I had fun. You may not believe it, but I killed. I've told this story before. Neil Brennan's brother, forgive me, I forget his name. The other Brennan guy, he could not believe that it was my first time up there. I went up there and I did it. And I had a fucking blast doing it. And when I got done, I said, I don't have to do that again. Now, unfortunately, I did do it again. And it just confirmed that I was just like, I just don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to stand up here and say the same, but I got to experience it. I got to feel what it's like to be in front of an audience and hear laughter coming back. And it was fucking unbelievable. And by the way, doing radio and podcasting since, I had the chance and opportunity to be in front of several live audiences. And I'm telling you, there's no better well, there's some better feelings, but there's very few feelings that are better than being in front of a live audience and getting love. And if you don't have that experience, you know, we all have it, right? We all have those wonderful, I've talked about this before too. I can remember being at Jones Beach Amphitheater during sound check for Ray LaMontagne and David Babylon. Fuck is that guy's name? Anyway, whatever. You might know what I'm talking. I got to be in that beautiful space by myself with these guys. They're sound checking. They're having fun. I've gotten to sit through a lot of sound checks. It's incredible. If you've never had a chance to go to a sound check, do it. It's so much fun. Had the chance to hear the bat crack from my favorite team and watch a home run go over the fence as I'm drinking a beer and sharing popcorn with my buddies. Years later, I get to do it with my son and my daughter and my wife and my parents. David, great. Thank you, Christella. Bless your heart. Christella, Christina, you guys are all getting to it. You got to help me, old man brain. Everybody, you guys probably have your own experience that you've done. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we've heard some great stuff from people. You know, Bird's had great experiences. Robin with the potatoes and everything that he's doing in Idaho. I mean, it's incredible stuff. It's great stuff. You know, it's wonderful stuff. You know, everybody has shared some. Rhonda's shared some incredible stories. How many times have we heard Rhonda say something? I go, wow, fuck, I got to hear that story. You need to live. You need to experience these things. This is a fucking 24-year-old that's never left his mother's basement. And we're acting like this guy's the next coming of Charlie Kirk. Give me a fucking break. I appreciate what Piers Morgan did today. He got a little bump probably from the Nick Fuentes people. I don't think we need a reason to have Nick Fuentes on anybody's show from here on out. I'm not going to begrudge anybody who does it. But you're going to have to explain to me the point of having this guy on. He's never been with a woman. He's never been with a woman. He has never done step 1 in the 100 steps that you need to gain life experience. He's never done it. I mean, prior to sex, it's what? Riding a bike. Like, what's he going to tell us next? He's never ridden a bike. Yeah, I never really, Piers, I didn't really feel the need to take those training wheels off. I got it. I rode a bike with the training wheels and I pretty much, no, you got to fucking take those training wheels off. You got to fall. You got to scrape your knee or break your leg in some instances. Not that I'm naming any names. What's amazing about me breaking my leg on a bike, I fell over on a bike and the leg that I fell on was totally fine. It was the other leg that broke. Explain that to anybody. It's a certain skill set you have to have as a totally discombobulated, unbalancing piece of shit that I am in order to be able to pull that off. But anyway, my point is this. For those that were able to mask some of the obvious issues with Nick Fuentes' overall outlook on society, I have a hard time thinking that you can put aside the fact that he's never slept with a woman. And I mean, it has nothing to do with heterosexuality. I'd be saying the same thing if he never slept with a man. He's never slept with anybody. He's never given himself up to anybody. He has never gone through the exercise of putting himself out there to get rejected, to eventually find success and connect with another human being on an emotional and physical level. He's never done that. Then you can't talk. Shut the fuck up. I don't even know why he has a microphone in front of him. I know everybody has a right to free speech and everything like that, but you can't sit there and lecture people on societal issues and how we should live if you've never lived yourself. And it's ludicrous to pretend to think that that is okay. It is not. It is not. He does make a good point about women should not be able to vote, though, right? I mean, we could all agree on that one. Don't you think? Little joke to end it. All right, let's go. If Frank was here, he would have had a full meltdown on that. He would have been like, you got to stop with that. Frank is so uncomfortable now when we make obviously stupid jokes, but I love him just the same. Jimmy Kimmel. It was really interesting as we went through the whole Kimmel-Trump saga a couple of weeks back, and the suspension and the non-suspension and all that kind of stuff, right? Because, I said, we don't know where his contract is at. We don't know what that's going to wind up looking like. Are they keeping him? Are they not keeping him? Well, fast forward to today, and we got the official word that Disney and ABC has extended Jimmy Kimmel for another year. So Kimmel is good until May of 2027. Which feels like a bit more than a year. Well, it's like a year and a half, a year and change. So Kimmel's going to stick around for a little while longer. And I think it's an absolute must because you don't want to set the precedent of what we have right now, which is, and this really honestly, and I know the right versus left is a heated debate, but you don't want to really be in any kind of situation where an administration is dictating what people are able to say. You want the narrative to be CBS got rid of their show because it doesn't work economically, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't work for ABC and NBC. So I think it's super important in our current climate that Kimmel continues, that Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show continues, and those guys show that this is a business model that we can contend with and deal with. This is a business model that works. And by the way, it really should work because you now have one less huge, massive piece of competition. If you want to reach the demos that these late night shows reach, now advertisers have one less option. They got to go with Kimmel. They've got to go with The Tonight Show if they want to keep going. So despite a bumpy September 2025 for the folks over at Kimmel, they've got a fresh extension going from 26 to 27. So we don't have to worry about hearing the end of Kimmel. And that's exactly what it is. I mean, this is just like a coach in football or hockey or baseball who has 1 year remaining on his contract. You have to extend that coach if you want to prove to your players that you have faith in that person. You can't let them just go all the way out on an expiring deal. You got to say, nope, we believe in this person. Because what's going to happen if that doesn't happen? The player's going to be like, I'll just wait this guy out. He's going to get fired eventually. I don't have to run hard to first base for him. I don't have to hustle for them. You don't have to do any of those things. Now you kind of have to deal with that. And so you want to send a signal. And by the way, I don't think it's just a signal that's being sent to the rest of America and the current administration. I think that Kimmel works for ABC. I think that when you have an anchor on your network like this, it means more than just that actual show. And we've seen this too with news anchors on morning shows and 5 o'clock news. You know, those people, they don't just host those shows. They do the upfronts when it comes time for it. They go out into the community and they host the walkathons and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot more value to what they're doing besides just sitting in that one slot and doing that one particular show. And Kimmel has been a face of that network for quite some time. And to me, there's no reason not to do it, especially, like I said, with the end of Colbert happening, you have a chance to pick up a couple more bucks as you move forward for your particular business. So I think it's super important that they had to do that. I think Kimmel is very funny. I think, you know, he says things and makes some mistakes just like everybody else does from time to time. But I think he's worthy of his position, and I'm glad that he is coming back because, you know, with this whole Netflix and Warner Brothers thing, we need all the voices that we can get. You might not think you care about the Netflix WB acquisition, but it is sort of important because, as a lot of people are pointing out, if Netflix winds up buying Warner Brothers for 82 point whatever billion dollars, which is just absurd, they're going to control a third of the streaming market. What do you think that's going to do to your prices? You know, everybody's looking at this deal and they're like, there's no way this is not, I mean, it's not technically a monopoly, but when you shrink the size of a particular market by a third, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot. Now, Larry Ellison and Paramount, they have been readying an offer, and they made an offer earlier, I believe in the summer. I think it was like around $50 billion. They offered them $50 billion, like $20 a share or something like that, and they got laughed out of the room. I mean, really, just laughed out of the room. And then Netflix came flying in with their $82 billion deal, and Warner Brothers was like, great, thanks. Deal signed. But as we talked about on the last episode, that doesn't just mean just because they reached an agreement on what a deal would look like, that doesn't mean that the deal is done. It's got to get approval in the United States. It's got to get approval all across Europe. Every European government has to chime in and give their okay to this. Well, this was announced. The Netflix Warner Brothers deal was announced on Friday. This morning, we get the news that Paramount is going to go straight to Warner Brothers shareholders with an all-cash $30 per share offer. That would put their bid around $108.4 billion, considerably more than what Netflix was proposing. Now you have some stuff that makes things really interesting. But how pure is this offer from Ellison? I mean, we all know that Ellison has a ton of money, right? But it has equity financing from the Ellison family and the private equity firm Redbird Capital, as well as a $54 billion in debt commitment from Bank of America, Citi, and Apollo Global Management. Where have we heard about Apollo Global Management before? That was the firm that was headed by Leon Black, who was close friends and spent time on Jeffrey Epstein's island. Okay. A portion of the equity financing comes from outside Middle Eastern financing partners, including Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, Abu Dhabi's Lamad Holding Company, PJSC, and the Qatar Investment Authority. Another portion derives from Jared Kushner's Affinity Partners. Kushner is obviously the son-in-law for the current president of the United States of America. So we're seeing this Qatar money come in again. Saudi Arabian money come in again. It's been the topic of conversation of conspiracy on how pure and good that money is. But they're basically throwing a ton against the wall here, just scraping up money from wherever they can to put together this $108 $8.4 billion offer. That comes out to a $30 per share offer. Now, if you're the shareholders of Warner Brothers and you're sitting there going, well, Netflix has got a nice offer at $27 a share, but we got an offer for $30 a share. Who are they going to take? Who are they going to go with? I honestly don't know what's going to happen from here on out. And a lot of the experts that I read about and see, conversations from, there's a lot of craziness on both sides on where this is going to wind up going. We're not going to know, but it sure is interesting because whoever gets this Warner Brothers hold is going to have at their command just a ton of assets. The Netflix deal was for Warner Brothers studio and streaming assets. Warner Brothers Discovery, including assets like the TV networks, including CNN and TNT Sports, a lot of sports on there, TNT, hockey, basketball, so on and so forth. This $108 billion offer is literally for everything, including the little Warner Brothers mugs that they give out at the studio tours. I mean, literally everything, all IP, everything. So this bet for IP and content continues, but $108 billion. I mean, it's an extraordinary amount of money. There's a $2.8 billion breakup fee if Warner Brothers Discovery decides to call off the deal with Netflix. The Ellison offer, the Paramount offer, they've agreed to pay that. So that's part of the offer. Like, oh, it's going to cost you $2.8 billion to back out of this Netflix deal. No problem. Here's a check. We've got it covered for you. We've got it covered. So things just got a whole lot more interesting. I don't know how Warner Brother content, HBO, TNT, Discovery, all these outlets, I don't know how this doesn't get a lot more expensive for all of us if this deal goes through. I did hear a crazy talking head the other day discuss the fact that like Netflix is only doing this because Warner Brothers can't make anything. They can't do anything for 2 years as this whole process is good. Like they're expecting this thing to take like 2 years to go through. A hostile takeover, I don't know. That's it. Hostile takeovers are, you can throw anything out the window. Like that's a whole different deal. We don't know when that's going to come through. Co-CEO Greg Peters said they recognized the Netflix deal came as a shock, but called Warner Brothers Studio and HBO Max content complementary to Netflix's business. Co-CEO Ted Sarandos said the acquisition would protect jobs at a time when layoffs have been rampant across the media. In the offer that Paramount was talking about today, they were also talking about $6 billion $6 billion of synergies. Where do you think synergies come from? Cutting jobs. So we're not cutting jobs, we're making jobs. So Netflix out there trying to make the case that, hey, we're going to save things, we're not going to cut jobs, our deal is better. It might not be another $20 billion, but it's definitely better. But I can't remember the last time we saw any company go for sale for over $100 billion. I mean, there's very few people that could even put that kind of scratch together to make it work. You know, I mean, that is a tough bucket. Marjorie Taylor Greene on 60 Minutes. There's 5 takeaways I want to discuss from this interview. I found it to be pretty interesting. Again, I'm going to keep following this storyline of the breakup of MAGA, the split between the MAGA people and the America First people, because at one point those were one and the same. And here we are, it's December. First year is not completely done by the current administration. And I feel like we've seen a split. We've seen MAGA people go one way and America First people go another way. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is on the America First side for sure. At least that's what she's out there telling people. She said, and here's 5 things that I feel like are super important from this interview. Marjorie Taylor Greene said Republicans in Congress make fun of Trump behind his back. She said it would shock people to hear how her GOP colleagues talk about the president behind closed doors. Greene said as recent as last year, her colleagues would make fun of Trump, but started kissing his ass when he won the 2024 GOP primary. She said, and I quote here, behind the scene, I'm sorry. Leslie Stahl asked, behind the scenes, do they talk differently? Greene, yes. How? Oh, it would shock people, Greene replied. Well, let's shock people, Stahl said. Okay, I watched many colleagues go from making fun of him to making fun of how he talks, making fun of me constantly for supporting him, to when he won the primary in 2024, they all started, excuse my language, Leslie, kissing his ass and decided to put a MAGA hat on for the first time. Which is not surprising, but it's nice to hear. It's refreshing to hear that it confirmed. And this is what I talk about with Frankie all the time. And this is why I refuse to get involved in the right versus left argument. It's all the WWE. It's all just a game. Nobody really likes Donald Trump. They're just doing it because he wins. And the second that he stops winning, that's when people are going to abandon him. The second where he stopped winning for the first time was with this Epstein 180 that he pulled, trying to call it a hoax instead of what it really is. And that was the first time we saw a skew. And what did he do? He pulled another 180 and went back and said, well, you should release the files, because he turned around and looked and there was suddenly nobody following him for the first time. So he changed his tune very, very quickly. But at the same time, he made sure to protect himself and whoever he is protecting by launching that investigation, which I think the DOJ will ultimately use to fuel the redactions and everything else that they're going to do to not put out the Epstein files. December 19th, we're 11 days away. By the way, I think we'll see a major document dump on that day. I think we will learn absolutely nothing new from the Epstein files that are going to be released on the 19th. I don't think we'll see one frame of footage from any one of his houses that we know had recordings. We know there were recordings taken from his home in New York City. We know there were recordings of his West Palm Beach home. I'm not sure if we've ever gotten the recordings off of the island, but we know that recordings were taking place there as well. We know the FBI seized a whole slew of these. Nobody has ever said anything about video footage from his homes ever. Why? So I think we'll get a bunch of papers again with a lot of redactions. I don't think we'll learn one new thing on December 19th. But December 19th, we will be here doing a show for you. It will be our last show of the year. We will be talking about the Epstein files that are or aren't released, and we'll be playing an AOA game time. It'll be our last show of the year. It'll be a whole ton of fun. I hope you will join us on December 19th before we go on a holiday break. So aside from that, that's again, so going back to my original point, that's basically why I just refuse to take part in any of this stuff. None of these people mean this. It's just a power play for them. The day that Donald Trump becomes useless to Congress, Congress will turn their back on Donald Trump. And that day might be coming soon, because the midterm elections are basically it. If he doesn't help get a lot of Republicans reelected, they are not going to follow him. And I worry if they're going to let him sit in that office as a lame duck for another 2 years, or make a move and let J.D. Vance start his presidency early with a hope that he can continue for another 8 years. It would be great to have 10 years of J.D. Vance in the Republicans' eyes and not just 8. And also, as we've learned from the last administration, you don't want a lame duck president out there ruining things for their successors, as we saw Biden do so well. He really did not put Kamala Harris in a position to win. Not that she was capable of winning on her own, but she was really shortchanged from the get-go because of what Biden had done during his time as president. You don't want to see that done again to J.D. Vance, who a lot of people in the Republican Party view as the future. They view him as the future. Greene says Republicans in Congress are terrified of Trump. She told Stahl that Republicans don't speak out against him when they disagree with him because they're terrified of being targeted by him. Basically, that's what she was. She said that Trump fueled death threats against her family. She said there were death threats against her. There was pipe bomb threats. She said when the threats started for her child, when exact quotes from Donald Trump were in the subject lines of threat emails for her children, that's when she changed her tune. Greene also went on to say that Trump's policies aren't America first. She reiterated her concern that the president is too focused on his international agenda, isn't prioritizing the needs of Americans. We have seen this in the big swap of money down with South America. People have accused him of this, getting involved in the Israel-Palestine thing. I don't think that that's a bad thing that he did. I think that he did a peace job, and it's been good so far. He's continuing with Ukraine and Russia, all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot that goes on. I mean, the money from Qatar and all this jazz. We're supposed to see all these differences. Yet here we sit, December of 2025, and we have not seen affordability improve in the least bit. Now, if you want to tell me there's not been enough time, man, he needs more time. Okay, fair enough. I understand things move slowly. But that's not what he's saying. He's saying that affordability is yet another hoax word put forth by the Democrats. The president of the United States the other day said, I don't know, I've never heard of this word affordability before. Yet you can search any supercut out there. He discussed how much more affordable this country would be if he was reelected. I'd rather him sit there and say, listen, it's not going to happen overnight. You're not going to see the advantage of this for another year or two. That we can tolerate. But to, again, sit there and say, well, we're going to be a lot more affordable. We're going to win. We're never going to get tired of winning. It's going to be great. Everything's going to turn it all around for us. Our prices are going to be great. It's going to be much more affordable. To then turn around and say, I've never heard of the word affordable before. Affordability. And now suddenly everybody wants to say affordable. It's a Democrat thing. Well, it's not. It's not. This is how Americans are feeling. Like, I don't doubt that Democrats and the left-wing media are overstepping their reach and making things, making something that's, you would rate a 4 of a problem be a 12 out of 10 of a problem. That's what they do. But even still, you're talking about most Americans out there just expressing the difficulty of what it's like. It's the end of December. A lot of people are making their healthcare, electing their healthcare options. Healthcare's gone through the roof. I looked at what my policies are going to be next year. It's fucking ridiculous. Cuddles is looking at her policies. It's through the roof. All the friends I speak to, they're all saying the same thing. Their policies are going through the roof. Get healthcare under control. And I say this to not only the current administration, but also the minority party of the Democrats. So Democrats and Republicans. Stop arguing and figure out a way to work together. Nobody is interested in seeing either side win. We would like to get back to winning. Nobody cares about what you think about healthcare and this and that and Obamacare and getting rid of it and keeping it and adding to it and changing it. And I have a plan in 2 weeks. Nobody cares. Go in a room and figure it the fuck out. These are the conversations that we should be having. This is what CNN should be saying. This is what Fox News should be saying. But no, instead they go, well, it's the right's fault. Well, it's the left's fault. We can keep doing this and just watch our costs continue to rise, because that's exactly what's going to happen. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, beating that same drum that those death threats really were bad. And I would agree. I mean, we all said they were bad. Greene said she's not planning on running for president. That was did I get all 5? Yeah, his policies aren't America. Oh, I didn't read. Greene said, for an America First president, the number one focus should have been domestic policy, and it wasn't. And of course, I was critical because those were my campaign promises. Once we fix everything here, then fine, we'll talk to the rest of the world. Greene also noted that when the president labeled her a traitor, it was around the same time that he was entertaining controversial figures in the Oval Office. She said, and I quote, he did this in the same time span where the president brought in al-Qaeda leader that was wanted by the U.S. government, who is now the president of Syria. Then within a week, he brought in Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who murdered an American journalist. And then he brought in the newly elected Democrat socialist mayor of New York. That was the time span that he called me a traitor. Greene now describes her ideological point as America First, but wouldn't accept the MAGA label. And I think a lot of people feel that way. I think a lot of people are going to be saying what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, that they are America First and no longer MAGA. That's a problem for the president. That's a problem for J.D. Vance. That's a problem for Mike Johnson. You don't want to split that party in half. That's how the Democrats are going to come raging back. They're going to watch those two sides split against each other, and they're going to come, right up the middle and swoop in and make it happen. I don't know if Marjorie Taylor has enough juice to become president. So that fifth and final point is kind of moot and silly. I don't know if she's there enough to be, to become the president of the United States. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. All right. I found this to be interesting as a person who lives in Long Island, raising my children on Long Island, right up against the Hamptons here. We talked about this crazy bakery catering company the other day that's propositioning their people for swingers and all this crazy stuff. Well, today we get the story that Long Island residents, you ready for this? This is another one of those instances. Oh, I like this from Paul. Paul, we're going to nominate this as our comment of the episode, divide and cuck. It's true. You don't really need to conquer when you're cucking. So that's a good point. That is a very, very good point. Paul also making a good point. The 1% win. And you're on a watch list now for questioning dear leader. Let's nominate that as well. Listen, again, I think I've been really, really fair to the current administration. I think I've been very, very tolerant of them. If the president was going to sit there and say to me, hey, all our economic policies are going to take some time to work. You're going to have to wait till next year or the year after. Okay. I don't love it, but I get that things just take time. But when you sit there and insult my intelligence and go affordability, I mean, why is this a thing? What? It's always been a thing. Cost, prices, whatever you want to call it or label it. People are making the same amount of money they made last year and the year before, and they've watched the cost of their food go up. They've watched their healthcare costs go up. They've watched their mortgages and rents go up. Suddenly they have a lot less money to spend. That will make people angry. Okay? That will make people very angry. By the way, we're talking about literally the things that drives countries to revolutions. I'm not saying that's where we're going, but I'm also not saying we're headed in the right direction here, because I don't think you get Donald Trump elected the first time around unless people are sick and tired of the old way of doing things. I don't think the world entertains a Bernie Sanders unless they're sick and tired of the way things have gone. I think this backlash against the president right now is warranted. We're talking about basically 5 years of his presidency. And have we been able to cash in on any of those campaign promises? One or two? The peace deal in Israel, always got to give him credit for that. Are we seeing real change? The Mamdani election might be a good thing. If everybody's scared about it, then good. Let them be scared. But I'm hoping that we can scare the right and the left into working with each other to pass laws the way things used to be in the 60s and 70s versus where they are now, which is just utter dismay and stupidity, frankly. Again, you make the same money you made last year. Now your healthcare costs a lot more. Your food costs a lot more. You go to get your car fixed. Suddenly that tire costs a lot more. You're not going to be happy. Nobody's going to be happy. That doesn't bode well for anybody. But I digress. Let's talk about and discuss the dirty-minded people that I live around. The filthy, disgusting animals that I've chosen to live amongst. Because here's the headline. Haven't read the article, but here's the headline. Dirty-minded Long Island residents outspend entire European nations when it comes to OF. You know what OF is, right? OnlyFans? Yeah. Here's the article, courtesy of the New York Post. Pervy residents in both counties of Long Island, together with those in Brooklyn and Queens. So slightly unfair. I mean, you put us next to the degenerates of Brooklyn and Queens, everybody's going to look worse. There's a lot of degenerates in those two areas. So Long Island with Brooklyn and Queens are outspending entire European nations on the amateur site OnlyFans, according to new data. Long Islanders have joined forces to buy more of the site's porn than any huge nation, such as Switzerland, France, Italy, and Spain per capita, while also surpassing countries including Greece, Israel, and much of Italy. They already said Italy. According to a 2025 OnlyFans Wrapped report by OnlyGuider. That's unbelievable to me because you're talking about a lot of super perverted nations. France, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, Italy. And I'm looking at you, Spain. I can't speak for Switzerland. I don't know how pervy they get over there. But I know that there are some downright degenerate perverts in France, Italy, and Spain. Any passionate European, like they got that the language of love over there. Italy, forget about it. I mean, it's insane perversion over there. The Italians are red hot blooded freakazoids. And we're spending more money on our OnlyFans here on Long Island than in all of Italy. I mean, I'm embarrassed. I'm fucking embarrassed. And that's really bad. Let me see here. A rep for OnlyGuider told the New York Post, the Big Apple, or should I say the Big Fapple, okay, is the city that never sleeps. Well, now we know why. All right, saved it in the end there. It's not that bad. That's not too bad. Smut Central in the metro area involves a joint $7 million people among the 4 countries who have collectively blown nearly $52 million so far this year on the site. An amateur porn hub where patrons can purchase content and pay to interact with adult creators. Long Island alone ranks alongside some of the heaviest adult content consumers on the planet per capita. All right, you ready for this? Suffolk County residents spent more than $12.5 million in total so far this year, while Nassau County has doled out nearly $9 million. So Suffolk County is outspending Nassau County in porn on OnlyFans. I don't know if you heard Cuddles just there, but now you know how she feels about the whole thing. You know, when we sit here, Cuddles, and we think about what are our neighbors doing right now, odds are they're on OnlyFans. That's probably, I could look over from my studio window here. I could look over at my neighbors, and they're probably watching OnlyFans in there. Which creepy guy? We got like 7 creepy guys around us. By the way, we shouldn't talk about this. I do want to see our neighbors. Although you should ask Cuddles. A couple of weeks ago, I was bouncing off a wall because we have a neighbor who only decorates their garage door and a bush outside of their home. A garage door and a bush. And this guy had the nerve to hire a company to come and decorate his garage door and bush. In what I could say would take me roughly 7.5 minutes to set up, he actually hired somebody to come and put lit garland around his garage door and put some net lighting in a bush. I actually have more respect for Nick Fuentes than I do this fucking guy. That's harsh. I have more respect for my neighbor than Nick Fuentes, but it's close, and it's way too close. It's way closer than it should be, if we're being honest with each other. You know what I'm saying? Just get on a ladder and hang the fucking thing. By the way, Cuddles has me out there. I'm decorating peaks. I'm risking my life. I got my daughter up on ladders. I'm risking her life. Also, she can have the sparkly house that she always wanted. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying this. She's in the room. I'm trying to guilt her. Faith has been late. Do you have a note? If you don't, I'm going to have Miss Justice give you a demerit. Looks like she already has. That is the official emoji of a demerit or a welcome. Doesn't matter that you're late. I'm not sure. I'm not quite sure. It's one of those two. Faith, by the way, is from the county of Suffolk in England. Oh, you don't even want to know about them, Faith. Oh, forget about it. Double the amount of perverts over there. No, it's Suffolk County, Long Island, but this is basically pretty crazy. Again, so the article continues to put this in put these outlandish numbers into more perspective. Nassau and Suffolk County have a combined population of just under 3 million people. Beating the spending intensity of an entire European nation, despite having a fraction of their population. Oh my God. What's the population of Italy? Let's check on this right now. Let's ask our ChatGPT friend. What's the population of Italy? Are you not talking to me because I'm from Suffolk? What's the population of Italy? I've offended ChatGPT. I don't know what's going on. What's the population of Italy?
Right now, Italy's population is estimated to be around 58.9 million people.
Okay.
It's actually been on a bit of a decline. And birth rates are at a record low. Plus, more people have been moving out of the country as well, and just shaping up to be a bit of a demographic challenge for them.
Okay, so Italy has 58 million people. We have 3 million people on Long Island. We're buying more OnlyFans porn than the entire country of Italy. That is a new low. I mean, that's a level of embarrassment I never even knew I could have. I never even knew this sort of embarrassment could exist. And again, name a more perverted country than Italy. I mean, name one. I mean, you know, that's alarming. France is known for love. It's the country of Paris, the city of love. And those perverts aren't spending nearly as much as what we're spending on our porn over here. This is crazy. How many people are in France? What's the population of France? And then give me the population of Paris.
Sure. So right now, France is estimated to have about 68.4 million people. And if we're talking just about Paris itself, the city has around 2.07 million residents. So there you go.
2 million people in France, over 60 million in the country. Yeah, little old Suffolk County and Nassau County are spending more on OnlyFans, spending more on OF. That's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. All right, breaking news to wrap up the show. We have extended the Cyber Week sale. So this is a 2-week Cyber Week sale, folks. Oh my God, could you imagine? 2-week Cyber Week sale going on right now on the AOA store. Visit shopanthonyonair.com. Save 10% when you use the promo code EARLYBIRD. That's promo code EARLYBIRD when you buy any merch from shopanthonyonair.com. And you know we have a ton of merchandise up there, including our newest lines, which include the cup chair design. There's the mug right there. As you can see, got the beautiful AOA logo on one side, the cuck chair logo on the other side. It's a great mug. You can grab one right now for as low as $15.99. Maybe the hoodie is more your speed for the cuck chair merch. Again, you can save 10% when you use that promo code EARLYBIRD right now on your entire order. Don't forget to check out all of our new lines, including our Powered by Coffee and Spite gear. Lots of people are loving that right now. Of course, we got old favorites like Legalized Comedy that are part of the sale, our Headline, our Viola line, I'm Here for Cuddles line. We've got the new Doom Scrolling shirts. We've got the More You Research line. This one's been really popular. Lots of orders in the first couple of days this has been available. The Release the Epstein Files design is up there. A lot of you have trophy husbands out there. You can get a trophy husband shirt for as low as $29.99 right now. Save 10% off of that. And of course, we got our coats line. I'm here for cuddles, and all the other favorites are up there on the AOA store right now. Go on over and make your purchase. Get your holiday AOA items, because this sale is not going to last. And I'll tell you what, the amount of time remaining to get your gear in time for Hanukkah, the Festivus, and the Christmas, that time is running out. So order right now. Merch link in the description below, or just head on over to shopanthonyonair.com. That's it for our Monday show. Appreciate everybody for coming along. Thanks so much for all the comments. Let's go ahead. I know there were some great ones. I know we missed a lot of them. I tend to miss a lot of them when I'm by myself on the show here, but we nominated a bunch of Paul lines, and I'm going to go with Divide and Cuck. That was the one for me on this episode. Divide and Cuck. Congratulations, Paul, on capturing yet another comment of the episode. We'll have to send you a lovely plaque. We probably owe you about 30 of them by now. Keep checking the mail. It's in the mail. It's not in the mail. We'll never send plaques, but it's a nice idea and it's a fun thing to say. I feel like if other people could just say fun shit,
Show me potato salad.
we can give it a try too.
Maybe we should go now.
See you guys Wednesday.